the possible punitive damages, which could be millions of dollars. The lawyer will represent the person on what's called a contingency. The contingency is the lawyer won't be paid, won't take any money until there is a recovery. And from that, the lawyer will take a third, usually, typically as its share. But it's a free ride for the plaintiff. So this is what inspires a lot of litigation, the possibility of fraud where lawyers will essentially litigate for themselves and for their client, but without taking any money up front or at the end, either, if they lose. So all that fiduciary breach takes turns on whether this is a agency relationship or a broker relationship that Ward has with BIBO. So which is it? Well, we have the terms of the contract right in front of you. Let's look at it. You want to read it again? One more time, see if you can discern whether it's a broker or an agent relationship. Let's look at the first from the top, from the word agreement through the fourth. Why don't you just note or circle up in your mind or jot down if you see anything that bears on this distinction. Then we'll move from paragraphs 4 through 8. Got it? Yeah? Everybody, we'll just, if you're ready, I'm just going to scroll down. Let's go from 4 down to 8. See if you see anything else that bears on this relationship, one way or the other. Okay. Ready? Andrew? Andy? Which is it? Broker or agent? Feelings either way? Thoughts? You see the words mentioned, right? How many broker mentions are there? How many agent mentions are there? Starting from the top. Two brokers, right at the beginning, right? Ward who wishes to represent BIBO in connection with the foregoing as a broker regarding the sale of the horses. It's one broker. Whereas BIBO wishes to invest, own, and sell jumping horses and wishes to retain Ward as a broker. Two brokers. Retain him as a broker. Sounds like this is a broker relationship. Except, going down further, your paragraph 2. As an authorized agent now for BIBO, Ward shall use his best efforts. So 2 to 1. You got 2 brokers, 1 agent. Anything else? 8. Good. This agreement will be terminated, blah, 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 which Ward has purchased as an agent for BIBO. Well, now, so we have 2 and 2. So it sounds like it's an even match. Is there any reason to think this is broker as opposed to agent based on the placement of these words or context of these words, or is it just a coin toss? Is there any hierarchy here that you would use in reading a contract that would get you to a conclusion of what the parties meant to create that has a bearing on the outcome of this claim that BIBO would like to make. Of course, he wants it to be an agent. If you're helping BIBO, how would you read this in order to suggest that the party's meant to make Ward an agent as opposed to a broker? Andrew?
In the obtaining of the horses section, he's an agent, and because he didn't disclose that he didn't have full consideration. Well,
Excellent. Yes, exactly. First thing you might try to do before we get to the famous paragraph 2 is just to recognize that in those whereas clauses where the broker first appears twice, that doesn't even really count that language. That is not the operative language of the contract. That is the background foreplay, preface, overture music before the action starts. So you really don't sue on whereas clauses. That's just to give the reader an idea of where the parties are coming from. So that already diminishes the importance of the broker language there. Maybe even counts for it being sloppy. So really the operative language are the paragraphs 1 through 8, and even better is Andrew's suggestion that let's look at what it really says. Broker up in the whereas clauses is vague. First, the broker is regarding the sale of the horses. Well, we're not worried about the sale of the horses. We're worrying about the purchase. That's where the wrongdoing occurred. So broker for the sale doesn't tell us anything about the purchase. And then the second mention is broker, which is vague. It's retained as a broker, but without really context. 2 is right on the money. Authorized agent for finding and purchasing the horses. So the connection between agent and the deed and the misdeed is completely tight. Perfect. And then, if you weren't sure about that, it says at the bottom what it just said in 2. Like, hey, dummy, look at this. If you didn't get it the first time, which Ward has purchased as an agent for BIBO. Again, the purchase of the horses being where the no-no happened. So that would be the explanation for why Ward is an agent. And that is why Ward lost and BIBO won at trial, big time. And the judge threw the book at Ward and basically said, I don't think I've ever seen as severe, as egregious a breach of fiduciary duty. This is as bad as you can imagine. And the punitive damages were ordered. And you can find out exactly how much they were online. I think there's some remnant of a decision. I think the amount was reduced at some point, but the fury of the judge in the original decision is really what I'm getting at here. So it's played out certainly in BIBO's favor, and again, it illustrates the stark realities between having a word that starts with the A or starts with the B. Just as an agent versus broker, instead of prefaces, now we're going to have an afterword at the afterward. In my section of this class in Rome a few years ago, a student told me that she was a jumping horse rider. Her family raised jumping horses in the Midwest. She suffered a mishap, and so she couldn't do that anymore. So she was in MBA class. But she knew of Ward, particularly because he has spent time in prison. He went to prison. He was convicted of insurance fraud. Again, lying. What was he lying about? He was maiming his horses to collect on their insurance. He was crippling them purposely in order to collect insurance money, and so went to prison. So this is the person who we're talking about here, who took liberties with his client, with his business counterparty, and committed fiduciary breach. Okay, let's. Well, I had mentioned in the outline the issue that is confronting the world of finance, which is that the largest sum of money in the world are the several trillion dollars, is it 30 trillion? I forget, of U.S. pension money, pension funds. That is the largest corpus of money that you can point to in the world. And those trillions have as their face the people who will give advice to the people whose money it is as to what they should do with that money, because the people whose money it is have some control over investing it in one type of pension fund or another. The money is can be controlled by a lot of the people who own that money. So these financial advisors are the face, the front lines of the sort of reins on these trillions of dollars, and that's how they make their livelihood, by sitting in banks. When you go into the bank, those are the people who are sitting in those little cubicles and basically are asking you, they notice that you have a lot of money and they're trying to set up these funds for you sometimes, or give you advice as how to invest them. So these are people at major banks, J.P. Morgan, Citibank, and all sorts of other financial institutions. And the question is, are they your brokers or are they your agent advisors? The word advisor doesn't tell you either way. It's an A word, but it's a hybrid. It is ambiguous. And up until now, the understanding is that they are not your agents. They are not owing a fiduciary duty. They are giving advice, but they can steer the money like Northeastern to themselves, or not. Well, Northeastern wasn't steering the money to themselves, but giving misinformation or half information, partial information, not disclosing crucial information about the fact that this same person may be getting a kickback, getting money by steering the money one way or the other. And it's not a fiduciary breach because they're considered to be like brokers without a fiduciary duty, so they don't have to tell you the full story. The Obama administration came to the conclusion that billions of dollars every year are being lost by innocent people into the pockets of banks and these financial insurance companies, that these financial advisors are the front people of. And in other words, if the public knew, the investing public knew that their fund, all the information, they would have put their investment into a different position, and they would have increased the value of their funds so that in the aggregate, billions and billions of dollars are lost every year due to this flawed advice. And the way to solve that is just to do one thing: turn the A-word advisor into the A-word agent, and suddenly everything has to be fully disclosed with the fiduciary duty in place. And so the Department of Labor is the vehicle that Obama used to try to create this rule, because Congress wouldn't do it. But the Department of Labor has regulations over ERISA plans. ERISA plans are your investment savings plans, and because they were created generally by employee funds that were taken out of people's paychecks. So there's a way that he's gotten that to happen, but they are stumbling on the writing of this rule because the industries, the banking industries, are dead set, are over their dead bodies. They're saying, well, this rule go into place because it will impose on them an enormous amount of responsibility and costs to ensure that they're not sued on this fiduciary breach, and they'll be fly-specked for not if this passes to the point where they'll probably be held liable for doing things they're doing now. So it's a huge huge, momentous change, and there's no clear outcome in sight. But the insurance companies have teams and banks, teams of hundreds of people doing nothing but lobbying and trying to militate against this rule or shape it in their own to their own purposes as over this past year. It was proposed last February. So you can follow that unfolding in time. Okay, let's go to fiduciary duties in a little more detail. I think we have the basics of loyalty, but let's just run through a few scenarios. Let's say two students graduate from St. John's Tobin College of Business. Maybe they go and start an accounting firm so that they are partners with each other as accountants. And one of them has been doing his grandmother's taxes since he was a child. That's how he got involved in accounting. He could do his grandmother's taxes. So as a favor to her, now it's April 15th is coming around the corner, it's time for grandma to send her over her papers so we can do the taxes. Can he do it for free anymore? What's to prevent him from doing it for free anymore? What's the change? What's the difference here from before? Now that he is a, yes, Andrew. Now he is working on behalf of an accounting partnership. And how does that change how does that limit him or constrain him?
Yeah, because the partnership doesn't benefit.
The partnership doesn't benefit. Why do you think that he has to be concerned about benefiting the partnership? What's the connection between him and the partnership that makes it difficult for him not to do something for the partnership's benefit?
Personally liable.
What?
Personally liable.
Who? Oh, personally liable. The partnership is personally liable.
Yeah.
Before we get to the personal liability of the partnership, which is also true, does our accountant? Yes.
So because he's an agent of the accounting firm.
And as an agent, he owes.
Yes, with the best interest.
Agent working for the best interests of the partnership. Yes, correct. As I said, I think last week, the prevalence of fiduciary agency is that it attaches people to their organizations, and particularly partners to other partners. It's no higher, really, a duty than executives to the corporation, but it is very, very acute between partners. So yes, you owe the highest duty of loyalty to your partnership. Well, how is this being disloyal? Because he's giving away gratis a service that the partnership charges money for. It's like he's stealing from the partnership to the extent that he's giving away services for free. He should be working for the partnership. If the partners started working not for the partnership, but for the gratitude they get from their parents or their friends, then they're sort of dissipating the assets of the partnership for their own gratification. Of course, if they were being paid under the table secretly, that would make it even more serious. But even gratuitous gifts of accounting activity, well, why don't you say, hey, wait, what if he does it on his own time? What if he does it on Sunday? Is he stealing from the partnership at that point? Violating his fiduciary duty of loyalty to his partnership on Sunday? After hours? He's not doing it at the accounting firm. He's not doing it on the accounting firm's computer. Is he still depriving the partnership of something that he owes to the partnership, would you say? Yes. You mean he has no personal life? He has no personal life that separates him from the partnership? Once you're a fiduciary, once you're a partner, It's 24/7, 365? Yes, correct. Absolutely correct. There's no you anymore when it comes to the activity. There isn't, you are not you. You're not that person anymore that you used to be. You are this selfless person. Okay, good. What is the answer? How do you resolve if you weren't sure whether you could do this or not? It's a little murky, maybe because this pre-existed the partnership, maybe because it really doesn't harm, maybe because she really isn't going to pay anyway, maybe it's, right? I mean, ethically, we talk about ethics when things get gray and murky, right? When there's no clear, bright line, we talk about ethics. But that's why ethics is this sort of fudge play saver for, let's look at it more clearly and figure out whether it's legal or not. Okay, and looking at this, it may be very hard to tell. How do you resolve it? How do you make it clear? How do you resolve the dilemma so that you potentially could do this for her and yet not breach your fiduciary duty, which is what the fellow wants to do? Yes.
Just one of the two things. I guess I would go with having an agreement with the other business partner, taking you free work around one time.
Basically, it's disclosure. Disclosure is the perfect solution. It's the antidote to fiduciary dilemmas. Disclosing to your principal, this is what I want to do. Get their agreement. Let them know. See if they don't object. At that point, you're not breaching fiduciary duty anymore. It's this non-disclosure, if you'll notice, in the Northeastern case, in the Barney Ward case. This is the typical pattern of fiduciary breach, that people are going to the vending machine and either that bottle comes out and they don't disclose it because you don't want the principal to know. If the principal knows, then the principal can say, oh, you can't do it, you can't keep it. So the tendency is when there is a question mark to just remain kind of silent about it. Let's say you went to the vending machine, our original example. Not a bottle comes out, no. But on the way to the vending machine, you look down and there's a beautiful pen on the ground. Who does that belong to? You or the principal? You wouldn't have been there if you weren't doing the activity for the principal, for me. On the other hand, this wasn't really part of the activity at all. This was something peripheral. So does it come into the mix of what you owe as a fiduciary and therefore you have to be selfless, or is it something that really does belong to you? You could argue it either way. What do you do in this situation? Disclose it. Hey, I found a pen while I was doing this. Ha ha ha. If I say, wait, that's mine, then we can confront that and you may have to defend it and maybe you're right, but people shy away from that confrontation because they don't want to be told that they can't have it, so it's better. If he doesn't know about it, then how could it hurt him? And that's the thinking that puts CEOs in jail. Martha Stewart was not put in jail really for that. She was sort of lying about something to the feds. But other CEOs, a whole list of them, were at positions where they were capable of taking something which was semi-disclosed. Maybe they knew it, maybe they sort of knew at the board of directors, maybe it had been put into some kind of something that was published or was printed and was posted or what circulated, but maybe it wasn't really circulated. So in all these twilight situations where the disclosure is minimal, it's tucked away, it's in a footnote, it's in some addendum that wasn't really, the CEO says, well, I've made my disclosure so I can take it, hoping that no one turns up saying, finds them out. Then when they are found out, and it turns out there wasn't that disclosure, they go to prison because the disclosure wasn't sufficient. Typical criminal activity made criminal by the this honest services law, which is a federal law that's called mail fraud, and it really is the criminalizing of fiduciary breach by carrying out things without full disclosure. So that is the main antidote to breaches of loyalty. As far as the other elements of the fiduciary duty, we broke it into 5 elements, and the mnemonic is LORNA. So LORNA, LORANA. So let's meet Lorna. We know loyalty, duty of loyalty, that's the highest duty of fidelity, and you can't profit on your own, you can't self-deal, you can't profiteer off of your principal, and so forth. Let's look at the O. The O stands for obedience. Obedience means that you're listening and following instructions. Sounds very straightforward. Let's take an example of an agent who's going to go purchase towels for Bed Bath & Beyond. So this is a purchasing agent and gets the instructions. I want you to go to Turkey. Agent, this is the boss speaking. I want you to go to Turkey and I want you to buy 100,000 towels, certain dimensions, bath towels, white, and you are a certain weight, 16 ounces. Don't pay a penny over 90 cents. And take the KLM flight that leaves Kennedy Airport to Istanbul at 8:30 on February 10th. When the agent gets to Kennedy Airport, sees the KLM flight has been canceled, but there's a Lufthansa flight that leaves at 9:30 that gets to Istanbul an hour later. Is it disobedience? Is it breach of the fiduciary duty of obedience if the agent gets on the Lufthansa flight without telling the boss? Technically, yes, but not fiduciary breach, because what's the difference? The flight number that gets an hour earlier to Istanbul is simply not material. It isn't significant enough given the purpose of the mission, which still can be accomplished the same way whether you take either of those 2 flights. So minimal details like that are not a fiduciary breach. But what if the price that is ultimately paid when you convert it into from euros, what currency is exactly that we're going to be trading in, but it comes out to 90.001 cents per towel. Is that breaching the fiduciary duty of obedience? I see yes, heads nodding yes. Yes, that's core purpose of the mission, not over 90 cents. Anything over 90 cents